Everybody could take a seat and we'll get started. Wow, if that only worked like that with my kids, that would be so cool. All right, well, welcome to Envision 2018. We're pleased to have everybody here. My name is Dan Suda, Vice President of EDCi. Just with a show of hands, who's been to an EDCi event before? All right, good. I know that the EDCi people have been to an EDCi event before. But thanks for those of you that are returning, and it's great to see some new faces too, so welcome to everybody. The last couple of years has been really exciting for us. We've made some investments in a number of different areas, one of which we opened a Milwaukee office this summer right off of Watertown Plank. But that hasn't been the only thing we've done as far as investments. We've also done some investments with our solutions in data center security and cloud, and also in customer care. And in customer care, we've had some specific focus areas in healthcare and also in artificial intelligence, which is why we're here today. So we put together this venue and this kind of the group of speakers, and we think we have something pretty special, and we hope that by the end of the day you'll see that too. So our goal today is to help you guys see where you're at as it relates to AI, help you self-identify where you are in your business, and give you some education and maybe some tools that allow you to take your journey as it relates to AI to the next level. So So just on behalf of EDCi, and we have some sponsors here today, I just want to thank everybody for coming. We hope that you enjoy the day and what it is that we're able to provide. And without further ado, I want to introduce Sarah Higgins. Sarah is the third generation family in the business. She's a principal with EDCi and an account manager, a strategic account manager for customer care. Sarah?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. It's nice to see new faces, familiar faces, and hopefully we'll all learn a lot about AI today. I just want to start with a couple of housekeeping. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
I just want to start with a couple of housekeeping items. First and foremost, you'll see on the screen, we're going to be doing live polling throughout the event today. So as I'm talking about my boring housekeeping stuff, if you can make sure to log on. I think it's a website, but then there's also an app, right, that you can download as well, so whichever you prefer. As far as the agenda today, the Wi-Fi password, that's way more important than the agenda, is blackjack, all lowercase. Blackjack, all lowercase. Agenda today, we're going to have a collection of speakers for you. Really excited to hear from all of them. We'll have 3 before lunch and 4 after. As I mentioned, we'll have some poll questions and commentary in between each of them. And I think the cool thing about all the speakers today is, we're here for kind of a focus on the contact center, customer care, customer service. But we're hoping, the strategy that's presented, the technical approach, and business operation type discussions will help carry it through to the rest of your organizations as well. So really encourage you to stay and speak with our speakers if you get a chance and ask them some questions if you have further follow-up. Lunch will be actually in this room, so you can just stick around. And the happy hour will actually be in the back. I'll set up a bar out there and so you can enjoy the view of Milwaukee. Bathrooms, hopefully you noticed, are just out the door to the left back here, nice and close. And if you have any further questions, most of our team should be wearing the EDCi shirts, so please feel free to ping any of them and they can help you out. So as I mentioned, we're going to be doing the polls throughout the day. So I'm going to start with our first poll question before I introduce our speaker. So we're going to start basic. What is your understanding of AI today? We should have had the Jeopardy music for in between this. I'm glad we don't have any I've never heard of it yet. Well, cool. It looks like majority of folks fall under the small understanding, which is perfect. That's why we're here today, to learn a little bit more. So again, I encourage you to mingle throughout the day, talk to our speakers and your colleagues just about what you're learning and such. So with that, I am going to be introducing our first speaker. I had the fortunate circumstance to drive down with this gentleman this morning. So we were talking a little bit on the way about how this conference came together. So over the past few years, EDCi has made some big strides as far as customer care, actually patient care in the healthcare world. And as we were out there kind of making those strides and doing some cutting edge technology there, we were coming across both our healthcare customers as well as our other customers, as well as other resources within the contact center world, asking that question about AI. So big credit to Dan, who we met before, and Jake and Travis, the leaders in our customer care team. There really has not been an event like this in the Midwest. As Jake mentioned on the way down, you mostly have to go to the coasts or a bigger city to really hear about AI. So kudos to all of them for putting their heads together, working with our sponsors, Genesys and IBM and Zendesk, to pull this together and really bring some light to AI here in the Midwest. As I mentioned before, I think it's going to be really neat today to see these speakers. Our focus, customer care, customer service, contact center. However, I think you're going to learn a lot too about other areas, sales, marketing, IT. As we hear, Jake's presentation is AI 101. We're going to hear about customer journeys and even see a demo on how EDCi is going to be using AI internally for our help desk and ticketing system. So that said, now I'll talk about Jake a little bit. So if you want to go to the next slide. This is the real Jake. This is the Jake I know. I saw that fancy picture up there and I was like, let's get the real Jake up there. So first and foremost, Jake is a director here at EDCi of customer care. He has 15 years of experience in this field, going from engineering to consulting to optimization, that type of thing. So his real focus, having worked on both sides of that, is being able to align IT and business on a regular basis. My personal favorite thing about working with Jake, besides that he makes sure that business and fun come together on a regular basis, is he truly is an out-of-the-box thinker. He really embraces that concept of don't tell me no, tell me how we're going to do this. And he just really is able to coach his team and work with his team, as well as mentor his team to have that same mentality. So without further ado, let me bring up Jake to talk about AI 101.
All right, can everybody hear me all right? I hope so, because I can hear me. Wow, that's loud. All right, so, oh, Michelle. Anyways, yeah, that's all right. So to kick this off, what we're going to be talking about today is AI, and I want to set a foundation for, oh, it collapsed, we'll just have to relaunch it there.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, technology. So we are a technology firm from Appleton, Wisconsin. Been around since 1979. We're a family-owned business. I saw about half of you actually raise your hand that you've been to an EDCi event, which means probably the other half doesn't know a lot about EDCi. So I've got just a few slides on who we are and what we do. Really like 4 slides, so it's not going to be overwhelming. And then I want to dive into actually what AI is. We'll set a foundation for the day. Terminology, lingo, a little bit of history. I'll give some examples on AI, and then really I'll kick it off for Oliver, who will be doing our keynote, and you'll get to hear all the fun examples and stories from around the country with Oliver and the rest of the team. So to set the stage here, we still have a problem. We'll just flip it around and I'll use the arrows. Yeah. All right. We will get this figured out here, and we just gotta click in there. Where's the mouse? There we go. All right, now looks like it works. All right, so like I said before, we're out of Appleton, Wisconsin. Dan mentioned we now have a building here in Milwaukee. We've been around since 1979. We started as a cabling and specialty supplier. We moved into networking and contact center even in the early 2000s. And really, today's event is going to be about the customer experience, the contact center, customer care, customer service as a whole. Our mission is to discover, develop, and deliver innovative solutions that help you guys meet your technology and communications needs. Diving in a little bit further, who EDCi really is, it's down here, our values, all right? Those of you that are clients of ours that have been working with us over the years know that we never stop caring, we embrace challenges, we help you drive innovation, and we rise to the occasion, all right? That is us internally. That's also the extended EDCi family, you as a client. Some of you can attest to that. I'd be happy to just go ahead and ask around. I know we have We Energies here, Rex, Nord, Silver Star. We worked with many of you for many years. I'd like you to mingle with the others and tell them about who EDCi really is. That said, we have different divisions here: security, app, desktop, data center, customer care. We go on-premise, we go up in the cloud. This is a variety of what we do at a high level. Our partnerships, our certifications here, it's a little bit harder to see. Cisco, Microsoft, Genesis, IBM, of course, all the way around the house, Microsoft. We have a lot of other partnerships that aren't up here. My point is we have a breadth of knowledge across the organization. We're not just contact center. So we can look at the picture from a bigger point of view on the technology side, but on the contact center side, we also look at it from the business point of view. We look at business outcomes, which really is where AI comes into play today. AI as a whole, actually, we need to click, and I want to do a little video. Our marketing team went out and interviewed a whole bunch of people in the Fox Valley area and said, what does AI mean to you? I think this sets the stage here. We saw a lot of you know a little bit about AI, but don't know a lot. Let's hear what some of the people have to say about AI.
To me, artificial intelligence is, the computer making decisions without a human having to make that decision.
When I think of it, I think of computers, I think of robots, I think of, I don't know, satellites, that type of thing that are just, they're using computers more than human minds. I use computers in my day job, so I mean, I guess to the extent that Excel is doing my work for me instead of me doing another, piece of paper maybe. Siri, my phone all the time, I use that. MapQuest, that sort of thing, I use that a lot. So yeah, to a degree.
What is
Artificial intelligence to me is probably a complex computer system that impersonates or can impersonate a human being in terms of its critical thinking and quick reaction.
AI is computer kind of intelligence, like they code like answers, I guess. I mean, I use Siri once in a while. That's pretty much it, really. When I hear like AI or artificial intelligence, I probably think of the Terminator or something.
Smart means they're smart people. They're born smart, like machines.
Robots.
Because they're advanced and they know everything and they store a lot of data.
I don't know. Something software, computer, smartness related?
That's AI. That's computers that can think like human beings, or at least we think so. Yeah, I think so. Probably like Siri and Google Apps seem like AI to me, or close to it. Computers, robots. The ability of software to predict human intelligence.
Processes can be more automated through a service platform. So it takes the work out of the hands of the people in the workforce potentially, in the way that I would use it in my current role, and allows the worker to be more productive, have to deal with problems that are more related to productivity versus problems that maybe just are administrative.
I honestly do not know what artificial intelligence is. I would say it's how people perceive you and how you look at things.
Okay, so that's what we've heard out on the street. When talking to our clients, we also hear a couple other stories like, let's see here, I think I gotta move off the video. Like I said, technology firm since 1979. So let's see here. There we go. We heard of things like Terminator, again with our customer base, staff augmentation, a machine that controls itself, it learns on its own and you don't really have to touch it takes care of everything. A very expensive undertaking. And people said, people will hate me if I apply AI to our organization. My customers will hate me. These are all perceptions that we heard from clients. So my goal today is to talk to you a little bit about the realities, definitions around AI so that you have a foundation for the rest of the day, all right? So let's dive into it a little bit. On the reality side, first off, AI's been around, actually, Alan Turing. How many of you are comp sci majors in here? You probably, okay. Well, then I'm not going to dive into it much, but you probably had a class based off of Alan Turing and some of his studies. And my point is, as early as 1943, he recognized AI. And his definition, which I really like, is if a human cannot distinguish between responses from a machine to a human, then that machine would be considered intelligent, hence artificial intelligence, AI. Actually, IBM worked with Dartmouth College. They had the first AI program back in 1956. And interestingly enough, so we're talking 62 years it's been in the making, but really it's maturing right now. Now is when you're starting to hear true artificial intelligence. Components of AI have been around for a while, which we'll talk about in a little bit. AI, the reality is, it does need continuous improvement. Artificial intelligence needs training, and you're going to hear about that a little bit on and off today. You don't just deploy an engine and say it's working and you're done. You deploy an engine and it's going to learn. And it's going to learn with human input. You do need human-assisted AI, at least in the contact center world, in the customer service world, in order for this to work out for you. So let's see here. Oh yeah, and then of course there is no Terminator. The pointed solutions. All right, so AI is going to solve a problem. It's not going to solve all of your problems. There is no AI engine out there that does that today. You'll get a framework like IBM Watson, and you can develop applications to solve a situation like workforce management and being predictive and prescriptive, or being able to automate order entry or things like that. But AI is not going to solve all of your problems. It's going to solve a few problems or one problem, whatever you write it towards. There are many components that make up AI. All right, I'm going to sum it up in 3 different categories, and you're going to hear about these terminologies, these definitions, these acronyms throughout the day. So my job here, this is the most important part of what I'm talking about, is to get you all on the same page what these abbreviations really mean. Let's start with natural language understanding, then we'll go into machine learning and robotic process automation. So natural language understanding, what that really means, and there's a definition up here, an official one, but when we're talking about natural language understanding, NLU, we're really talking about the fact that a machine can communicate with another human and understand what you're saying, and actually understand the context, understand your feelings, sentiment, understand actually the phrases and put them all together and be able to hold a conversation. Not just understand, but to be able to talk back to you as well. To take that data, process it, and then be able to put it into a speech engine where it actually can text-to-speech talk to you. Natural language understanding, NLU, NLP, natural language processing. Also, ASR can be used interchangeably. Honestly, ASR is slightly different, but I've heard plenty of people actually say ASR, automatic speech recognition. That's more of a subset of NLU and NLP. This technology started back in 1950. Again, it's a component of AI, it's a necessity. You need to understand what the other person needs or wants. It's been around for 62 years, 68 years. I was also a math major, apparently not today. So machine learning. Machine learning, another abbreviation, ML, you might see that once in a while today. Machine learning is where the computer can actually data mine, take a large set of data and be able to reach conclusions based off of that data. That's what machine learning really is. So it's taking data and it's constantly processing that information and getting smarter. That's been around. IBM started working with machine learning back in 1959. You hear the theme, IBM Watson, who was one of the sponsors today. They're all about AI. They've been working with it since 1959. Lastly, robotic process automation, RPA for short. Also known as bots, virtual agents, intelligent assistants. There's, I'm sure, chatbot, voice bot, every other bot. They're all over the place. Many different abbreviations, but they really all fall in the same bucket is we're automating a task, all right? Again, the definition's up here, but we're acting on behalf of a human through software to accomplish a goal. Well, I guess you could even say a robot, so hardware too. Think of Google or Siri or Cortana. What are the other ones out there now? Alexa, of course. I can't forget Alexa. She's my favorite. They're all bots, all right? They're accomplishing tasks on your behalf, setting reminders, turning on and off the lights. That's really what we're talking about when we're talking about bots. Now, you're going to see an example of a bot a few times today in a different light, not necessarily a virtual assistant like the ones I just described. Bots, the robotic process automation has been going back to 1977. I mean, guys, we deployed process automation going back to the early 2000s, even at EDCi. It's not something that's new, nor is the machine learning, nor is the natural language processing. The thing is, now you're able to combine it all together and up in the cloud, make it more cost effective, and I'll dive into that in just a second, but here are some examples of what you can do with it. A little hard to read, I didn't realize that till today, apologize, so I'll read this to you. You can personalize experiences, not just on a per person, but on a per interaction basis. So that means we're able to actually understand the context. Why is somebody communicating with me? What are they feeling right now? And actually change your tune in that conversation programmatically with AI. So if I'm calling in and I'm really upset, you probably don't want to play a marketing message and try to cross-sell and upsell. However, if I'm calling in and I was upset and now I'm happy, you may want to say, you know what, that I saw you bought dog food from us, well, cat food from us. Maybe you want to buy cat litter too. That's a horrible example, best one I have off the top of my head. Proactive communications. Using AI to deflect the communications into your organization. All right, so I can take that data, I can mine it, and I can anticipate that, you know what, they bought that cat food, they bought that cat food, what does that mean? They're gonna need to use the cat litter. So every month, I'm gonna actually reach out and say, hey, it's time to buy some more, you're about to run out of this. To proactively go after and cross-sell, upsell, just deflect those interactions by notifying them. Hey, your bill's due tomorrow and you still haven't paid it. Maybe you want to pay it now, kind of a deal. Personalizing it too, not just doing proactive and a blast and saying everybody that's in this certain scenario is going to want that cat litter. What about somebody that's got 5 cats? Tuning your message directly to that person. I'm not sure why I'm all about the cat lady today, but prescriptive and predictive models. Tell you what's about to happen before it happens. So I know I've talked to a few of you, but on the workforce management side, a great example that I've seen, Genesis is actually doing it right now, or they're building it, I'm not sure if it's ready yet, to be able to say, hey, in June, we had a high call volume. And normally our June call volume is half that of what Black Friday is. So we need to start hiring people in July or August in order to be ready, trained, and up to speed enough to be able to handle those interactions in Black Friday. You need to hire 10 people with this skill set to be able to tell you what you need to do next to be ready for that upcoming event. That's some pretty cool stuff, that prescriptive analytics. And then I want to highlight, I was at UW-EDC earlier last month actually, and end of September rather, and there's a lady there from EA Sports, and she was talking about how they deployed a bot, and we learned all the lessons learned about deploying a bot. Now remember, a bot is a piece of software that can act on behalf of a human. In this case, it was a chat bot, so you would go in, you'd log in, and you would log your issue, and it would programmatically try to resolve your issue. And what she said is, we deployed the bot so that we can deflect our incoming interactions, so we can collect the right amount of data, hand it off to somebody to finish this and reduce our overall handle time, really lower cost in our organization. What she said is, we got those results. That was awesome. What we didn't realize is that we were able to detect fraud. We were able to detect somebody was logging in and trying to steal somebody else's Madden cards. I can't beat Madden as it is. I don't know anything about Madden cards, but to be able to impersonate somebody else, they were actually detecting that up front, and that fraud, that security side of it, and actually they were letting people through so the bot could learn more about what their tactics would be if they did get through. Very interesting. My point on the innovation side is we're seeing a lot of rewards. There are things that you may have wanted to do 5-10 years ago that just cost way too much. You can do now with AI. Just an example, we had a client, I think it was 2007 or 8, we put in that personal touch on an IVR with speech recognition, you know, all those, using the data that's in CRMs, all those components we talked about earlier. And that, I think that was like $1.5 million, maybe even larger of a deal for a 100-person contact center. And then we turn around now, if we were to do the same thing, we're talking tens of thousands when you apply the cloud and all that. So you can do it for a fraction of the cost. A lot of this is pre-built already. So some examples of AI outside of the customer experience. Let's start with healthcare. I know of a company out on the West Coast right now. They're actually analyzing radiology, MRI scans, and they're sending these scans over to the top 50 radiologists in the country. And what they were doing up front was they were saying, okay, this is what our AI engine detected, what do you detect? And they would train the bot, right? That's what you want to do. You want to train this thing. I'm telling you the story so you can understand the life cycle of an AI engine. But that said, then they started feeding this real time, and the MRI engine would tap into the software and say, before that person put their clothes back on, this is what I think is wrong with you. Or they would talk to the tech and say, rotate that person slightly to the left so I could get a better picture. That said, now they're sending these scans over to the top 50 radiologists in the country, and about 80% of them aren't even detecting. They're very hard to see issues. The AI engine's actually doing a better job than that. Now they're not to market yet. You got to figure out how to make cost and make it profitable and everything else. But it's right around the corner. Another example that this one I read about is taking people's patient information, their medical health history, looking at all your symptoms and putting it together and coming up with a medical cocktail that fits your medical condition that might be a little bit more rare. So you can take all the data from people across the country, combine it together, and maybe you have 200 people with that, but you'll be able to see what's worked best for those 200 people and prescribe them a very personalized medical diagnosis and as well as the cocktail, the prescriptions to help with that. Driverless vehicles, I think we all know about them. Video games, I've had AI for a while. I cannot beat Madden, I already mentioned that. I guess I can't run the same play over and over again. Advertising, we know of a company up in Neenah that's actually working with a cruise line right now. They have a little camera outside of their jewelry store, and when you walk up to it, it's analyzing your profile, and it's saying, based off of this, I'm going to show a hologram of this piece of jewelry that fits you. All right, it's in beta. They're trying it out for, I think, 6 months. But think of that. It's actually taking a look. I could be up there, I'm married, but I could be up there with my girlfriend, and it could be hinting that I need to propose with an engagement ring, right? That's where they're at right now with AI and advertising. Going into the customer experience, automating tier 1 triage, what's the status of my order, help me get my system back up and running, my printer's out of ink, that type of stuff. That's here and now, listening in real time and popping knowledge-based articles, or transcribing conversations and proposing training guides based off of that. Those are all examples of what's up there right now. Dynamic smart IVAs are bots. We had talked about that a little bit already, cross-selling and upselling. Julie, who you'll hear from a little bit later, mentioned a nice example of being able to translate real time on a conversation. So being able to, I speak English, I don't speak Hmong, believe it or not, and having that conversation, that person on the other end speak, it translates for me, I speak and it translates it back. It's not perfect by any means, but you can get the context of the conversation, and you might not have to spend a lot of money on outsourcing those language translators. Those are examples of what's here and now. QA and compliance, making sure that you're saying what you're supposed to say, and making recommendations on what you should be scoring and doing for your quality assurance side of things. AI has been applied to all of these things. You're going to hear about it throughout the day today. So, adoption. Why are we doing this? I talked about it a little bit already. Cost. All right, cost has gone down, and a lot of that's due to the cloud. All right, being able to pay as you go, or even try it before you buy a concept with AI. You could actually invest in the resources to build something, try it out, and in one of the AI engines out there, and they let you go through a few CPU cycles to make sure it works before you actually get into that place where you're paying for it now, at least on the software end. Hey, unemployment, I know today's voting day, I'm not political by any means, but unemployment's at its lowest point in the state's history, and I think even among the lowest points in the country's history. You don't have people to do the jobs. Some places are having to go with AI just to offset those jobs. All right, now remember what I said before, you still need people, you still need human assisted, but AI deflects those interactions, so you have less people that have to sit in the call centers and handle it. And then of course, increased customer satisfaction. How am I doing at time? Okay, all right, so increased customer satisfaction. Think of it like this, I actually had to get some housework done last November, and it was rather urgent, closing a loan or whatever, and I went through Facebook and Yelp and Google, and I went through the best reviews, and all of them were booked out for months. So I thought, well, this isn't gonna work. So I called the guy, I said, who do you recommend that might actually have availability? And he's like, you gotta go to this guy, he's really good. So I looked online, he had one review, and it was horrible. So I called this guy up and I said, hey, when would you be able to get in? He said, oh, probably tomorrow. I said, okay, I gotta ask. Everybody else is booked out months, you're booked out till tomorrow. He's like, yeah, I had a bad review. And I said, okay, well, tell me more. He's like, well, this lady, and I'm not gonna get into the story, but he felt like she was trying to take advantage of the fact that he ran a business and was trying to get something for free, and he was pushing back. She went online, talked bad about him. He still got his repeat business, but that's not how construction workers make their money. He needed the new business, and it stopped the moment he got that bad review. Look, I didn't even call him until somebody told me I needed to. I try not to fall victim to that, but I even do. So, and I'm paying attention to it. My point is, one bad review for a small business, look what it did to them. But for you larger organizations, there's statistics everywhere that depending on your industry, one bad review means 20, 30, even 50 customers. All right? Think about that. That's what's driving that personalized experience. That's what's driving people to really get into the organizations to really say, I need to provide every option possible. 24/7 by 365. Billing, how many of your billing organizations stop at 6 p.m.? All right, now of you same people, how many of you do not want to have to call and work out a billing issue during the workday? I mean, you have these companies that are operating under certain hours that can't afford to operate 24/7. AI is going to help you through that. That self-service concept is going to help you through it. Another example that I actually really hit home, one of you were in here with me, you'll remember this day, but we did a case study, this was several years ago, and it was on an IVR. And they actually said to this lady, and she was in her 70s, and they said, here's your scenario. You haven't paid your bill, you're 3 days overdue, you need to call in and take care of this. You can go to queue, you can self-service, it doesn't matter. And beforehand, she actually said, I hate speech recognition. I hate machines. I don't want to talk to them. We give her this scenario, and she tries it, and she got through. She went and did self-service and paid her bill, and everything was good. We said, okay, try it again, but the way that you would want to do it. She went ahead and she did it again, same exact thing. So at the end, of course, one of us said, why did you go through the machine when you said you hate machines? She's like, this is Wisconsin. Everybody knows everybody. I don't want them to know that I couldn't pay my bill on time. So think about that. There's people that want to talk to machines, and then there's people that say, I don't trust the machine. Don't transfer me to an automatic bill pay. I want you to take my credit card. You have a variety of people that want different things out there. That's causing us to have to invest in the technology. All right. I think I hit every point up there. So now let's dive into a little bit about what you're going to see today. First off, we have Oliver Hooks up. I got it right? Right, Oliver? Yes. All right. I'm going to talk a little bit about Oliver and give you an intro of Oliver in just a second. He's your keynote speaker today. Then Wes from IBM Watson is going to come in, and he's going to tell you a bunch of stories about real-life examples of how we're using AI in the customer contact center, customer experience, customer service world. We're going to have a little lunch, and actually, we put together a little demo for you of EDCi's first packaged AI product. Still going to be in beta, by the way. We're not ready to release, but we want to give you a little preview and get your feedback on what we're doing behind the scenes. As Dan said, we've invested a lot in the R&D side of things. So we're going to be doing that at lunch. It's just going to be 10 minutes, and yeah. So then Paul Dwyer. So Paul sent us an email yesterday and said, hey, I broke my ankle, I think it was, and I had to have surgery on my ankle last week. And while I was planning on being there, my doctor mentioned that flying might cause blood clots, and I don't think I can be there tomorrow. So we were in a mad scramble. We think what's best is that we actually do a virtual session with Paul, unfortunately. So I want to call that out now. Paul's very animated. He's a great speaker. It's disappointing he's not here, but you're going to get a great presentation out of him still. And then last up, so we were all sitting here talking, we said, okay, we covered what AI is, we covered real life examples, we covered where things are going with what Genesis is going to talk about. And then my question is, if we're sitting here and at the end of the day, we really like AI and we're thinking, I want to apply this internally, you start saying, oh wow, what are we going to do with people? Like, how do we get everybody engaged and on board? And we got Chad in here who isn't really a technologist, but he's all about employee engagement. And Chad is going to be talking about how do you get your staff ready to go, all right? How do you get them to embrace AI and not be afraid of it, not think it's the Terminator or my job is gone, which you heard in that video.